Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is excited to announce our newest partner, Luminous Labs. Luminous Labs is the leading provider of architectural visualizations for developers, homeowners, architects, and more. Luminous Labs has a team of experienced designers and visualizers using cutting-edge technology to bring your 3D renderings to life. Using these architectural visualizations will give you a sense of scale, space, and design, allowing you to make informed decisions about your projects before construction even begins. These high-end architectural visualizations are a perfect tool for presentations, marketing materials, and design reviews, allowing you to communicate your vision to stakeholders, clients, and more. This episode is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Pizant Building Products. Pizant Building Products has been providing contractors and builders with the supplies necessary to complete their jobs since 1964. They have built a reputation of honest, helpful, and quality service, serving the HRM for the last 58 years, now with 7 locations in Nova Scotia and 1 in New Brunswick. Our team at Atlantic Construction Podcast is extremely excited to announce our new co-branded partner, Procore. Procore is the global leader in construction management software. We'll be conducting several podcast episodes with Procore users and construction companies across the country in 2023, among many other things. Stay tuned. We're excited. Welcome back to the Atlantic Construction Podcast. Excited to have with us today 2 guests from the Stone Depot. Kyle MacDonald, owner, and Andrew Pepper, sales, and we have Kevin McGinnis here as well from Permacon, manufacturer of all things stone, and with Stone Depot as sales, retail, and supplier of landscape and masonry products. So excited to have you gentlemen with us today, and looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here.
Yeah. Usually we kick it off by just kind of talking a little bit about our guest backgrounds and kind of their journey in the industry, but maybe we could start with Kyle and Andrew. Just kind of give us, an overall kind of explanation of the Stone Depot. And I know Kyle, you just took the reins there a couple of years ago, and things have changed a bit. And maybe just kind of fill our guests in, our audience on the Stone Depot.
Andrew, you want to take that? Because I know...
Absolutely. I've funny enough, as much as Kyle's the owner, I've been there, 5 years longer? So, anyway, but you were a client. So, Stone Depot started in 1994, 95. It was started by a gentleman named Ken Timmons. He had done landscaping work in Ontario. So we started off as an installation company, and Ken saw the opportunity for, kind of some more prestigious products here in Atlantic Canada and Nova Scotia and Halifax. Originally a Maritimer. He wanted to move back down here with his family to live that maritime life. And anyway, from there we went on to get a distribution division or a retail outlet. Mm-hmm. And then
so you had install crews for a while.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We started off Acme Environmentals was actually the name of the company starting off, and then the Stone Depot became almost a division of that. And so we excelled on the installation front for a while, and then we kind of we brought in higher end products into the market here in Halifax. So it started off as mostly natural stone, and then went on to the precast pavers. And so anyway, now, I feel confident in saying, as someone who's been in the industry for a while, that we are the premier seller, retailer of stone products, stone masonry products, landscape products here in Halifax. So we're very proud of that. And we've, Kyle's continued that tradition along.
Yeah, I feel like it encapsulates so many different products when you're talking about landscaping and masonry. I was even just looking through some of the Permacon product lines. You were saying earlier, Kevin, that's, I don't know how many, 700
different products.
Yeah, I mean, how many different products would you say, like the Stone Depot currently option-wise? Or you have access to different kinds?
Yeah, we have access to all of them, but we only stock so many because there are so many you can only hold.
Yeah. So, Kyle, you took the reins a couple of years ago with the Stone Depot as the owner, as CEO. Your background, I know you're saying you're building some houses on the side for yourself. It's kind of a hobby. So you get construction background. I'm assuming, like working on the sites. Was it always in the stone kind of realm and landscaping, masonry kind of stuff? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I've ever since I was little, side jobs always were outdoors, digging holes,
Yeah.
moving rocks, that kind of
So you had it in you all
genre.
right,
Yeah.
way back.
Yeah, exactly. I was always anything physical, labor.
Yeah.
That kind of rolled into, I ended up going to NSCC for horticulture,
Okay.
which kind of steered me towards the landscape
Sure,
world.
yeah.
Because that's where I just thrived. Anything with equipment.
So when you take horticulture at NSCC, what's included in that? Like that's a 2-year course. Is it mainly like the landscaping trade and some of civil, or what? How does it?
It's changed a bit since I took it, which was quite a while ago. When I took it, your first year, you touched on everything, whether it was retail, greenhouse growing,
right,
landscaping,
pretty overall.
Yeah,
general.
and then you kind of picked which direction you wanted to go.
Okay.
Obviously, I focused more on the landscape and the hardscape component, which then put me into the whole landscape industry. That was back in 2007, I believe.
Okay.
It's kind of when that journey started.
Yeah.
I worked for somebody for I think 13 years, and during that 13 years, I honed my skills, and I became a Red Seal journeyman.
Wow.
Back in 2013, I think it was. So after my stint with that company, I started my own, rolled that company along.
Okay, so you had your own install company.
Correct. Yeah. Then the opportunity to acquire the Stone Depot was presented to me, and
right.
at that stage in my life, I thought this is a great transition.
Yeah.
As opposed to me slinging pavers for another 20 years.
Yeah.
Why don't I sell them?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's got to be a great background when you're dealing with clients and buyers.
It helps.
I mean, you know the trade so well.
Yeah, the landscape world. I was not overly knowledgeable in the masonry component, which is where I leaned on Andrew and Colby, our sales guys.
Okay.
For a lot of that background.
Mm-hmm. So what's it been like, the transition from going to installing and having your red seal? It's highly labor intensive, or not saying that it isn't now, but into a different realm where you're in the same industry, in the same trades, but on the other side of selling products.
It was funny. It was an eye opener. Me being on the other side of that counter, where my whole career with the other company and my own, I dealt with Stone Depot, so I've known these guys for a long time.
Yeah.
But I was always on the other side as a contractor, being on the side of the retail store. Was an eye opener of what these guys get put through.
Yes.
And how demanding contractors can be.
Yeah. That was you.
Yeah, that was you too. You're correct. And I felt pretty bad. But it gave me a whole new appreciation for what these guys do and what they juggle. And when I think sometimes, come on guys, get off your ass. As a contractor, I know now in the background, they are, working hard, trying to keep everybody happy.
It's not one contractor they're dealing with, it's 30 or
correct.
50.
And you got to keep all their orders and keep it's very hard on top of dealing with your walk-in retail customers, your builders, it's a lot for these guys.
For sure.
So but for me it's been pretty good, in the sense of I'm not doing the landscape hours anymore. That was a big thing for me, so that I could be home earlier hours. I have a wife and 2 children.
Okay.
So
that weighed into the decision,
big time,
purchasing
right?
the business.
Exactly, because landscape hours, I wouldn't get home till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Wouldn't see the kids. So getting the Stone Depot, I thought, all right, here's some kind of 9 to 5s. Sure, some maybe later days here and there, but overall, I'd be home better hours.
Do you miss the working with your hand side of it? Like that, just having that outlet, or
people ask me that all the time, and say what you will, I kind of don't. I did it for so long.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to wonder.
And I did it for so many years without all the new tools that are out today and equipment,
things are changing fast.
Yeah. So it was really hard back then. It's still hard now, but there's a lot of tools to kind of make things a little easier on you.
Right.
I miss being on site with guys and the joking and
I think that's what most guys miss.
Yeah. But as far as the whole working with my hands, I get that now, kind of doing some of this side work with building a home here and there.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's a good segue into into Kevin McGinnis here with Permacon manufacturer. I think you mentioned 15 different locations around Atlantic Canada where you're tied up with.
So we're a manufacturer in Quebec and Ontario. We
Okay.
have 9 different plants, and
Wow.
we make concrete masonry and landscape products, and then we sell through a dealer network in the Maritimes. And Stone Depot is one of our locations here in Halifax that would sell our product for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you've been in the business development kind of sales side for a long time.
Well,
or?
yes and no. I've been with Permacon for just around 6 years now,
Okay.
but I've been in the industry for probably 30 plus years.
Uh-huh.
So, and in a few different levels, a few different aspects, but it's been mostly in the landscape industry, some
Okay.
horticulture as well. So.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you probably spent a lot of time talking with certain architects, or is that kind of a big place for your energy spent trying to get in the spec? And
Absolutely. No, I mean, I would say I would have a fairly good relationship with most architects.
Mhm.
They know about our product,
Yeah.
know what we have in an offering, and if it works in their design, great. If it doesn't, well, hopefully the next one does. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to some of these retrofits or, some of these projects or even historic properties and things like that, where a lot of it's stone construction and you're trying to match up, like, do you ever get involved with some of these kind of crazy projects where they're trying to refurbish stuff? And there must be some neat stories from some of those jobs.
Yeah. I've got a little bit of, I would say, design interest in the background. So I'd hate to see a product used that really doesn't fit
Mm-hmm.
the surroundings. So, I enjoy that part, seeing an architect, because they've got a vision, they're in the end, they're an artist in their own ways, and they're trying to use our products or other products to create that vision. So it's some things are pretty neat to see. There's times where you see it on paper and you kind of go, well, that's, you have mixed reviews when you see it on paper. Then when it's installed, it's like, wow, okay, I didn't see that. I didn't see it turning out this way. So
it's hard to envision
cool.
it, right?
Yeah,
especially a lot of these products, like, and what it's going to be realistic. That's why I think that's why they get a lot of them are using such realistic renderings now and things.
Yeah. Well, as a manufacturer, I mean, Kyle and Andrew, they deal with a fair amount of natural stone, and any manufacturer try to replicate natural stone, because that's what that's what we're used to in the Maritimes, is a natural stone look. So, colors, we try to represent that. There's some products we say we try to replicate a natural stone look, but then there's others that are new and contemporary that change direction altogether. So it's one thing about Permacon. They are a trendsetter in what their manufacturing, what their vision is, and so they create a lot of unique demands as well. So
it's a good place to be in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that Permacon would be, we're a manufacturer here in Quebec and Ontario, but Permacon's only a small part of a big company.
Right.
We're owned by CRH or Oldcastle, and so there's many other divisions of the company, and we're one part of it. But we do a nice job manufacturing some unique styles. So.
Yeah. Is there currently any kind of trends you can speak to, as far as, I know you mentioned natural stone a couple times, is there any products right now that seem really popular, whether it's on the residential side for a backyard, or is it just kind of evolving always?
I think you see trends come and go. Right now it seems to be a smooth, modern, large look. So this would be from Permacon, something like the Mega Melville slabs, colors that are maybe a little more monochromatic. I think I'm describing that the right way, like a very light and kind of
subtle,
one color. Yeah, exactly. So people really seem to be going with that.
But larger pavers as opposed to many small.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
right.
Which is one of those things on the plus side from the installation perspective. It goes down quickly. On the I guess the drawback to that is that they can, you do have to make sure that you have strong backs or the right equipment, which is been a good thing for us, as we've now been able to bring in some more modern equipment that makes it easier for guys, especially with the labor shortage in the industry.
Once those pallets land in your yard.
Yep. Yeah, we send them out, and then we have people coming to us and buying tools.
Other than your typical forklifts and stuff, is there some specialized gear too for different types of products and that?
Absolutely. So we work with a few different companies. M-Quip would be our vacuum lifters. Kyle, kind of, I want to say, in a lot of ways, introduced them to the Maritimes. They had been down here a bit, but we are we actually retail them. We keep them on hand. We also work with a company called Great North Hardscape Products and Pave Tool, which is promoted by Permacon and other industry leaders. So it's one of those things that 4 years ago, prior to the pandemic and prior to labor shortages, guys, they had that old school mentality of, no, I'll just, break my back putting these in sort of thing.
Yeah.
And now guys are going, listen,
Yeah.
I need these tools because it's hard enough
Showing
keeping
off.
guys.
I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
I was younger.
There's no more walking the
break your back.
there's no more walking the two by two patio slabs across the area.
Yeah.
Now it's, listen, you gotta, you got things you can lift them in, stop guys from jamming their fingers and that sort of thing there. So so that's something that we've kind of seen, with that demand for larger products. That's kind of created a more of a demand for those tools and that cutting edge things.
Those vacuum lifts are really cool. Do you guys rent equipment too to some of the contractors? That's part of the part of your offerings.
Yeah, that was a new thing that we kind of started was renting vacuums and roller tampers and stuff for that larger format slab.
Yeah, because not all of them would, maybe have the capital or have invested in them,
Yep.
and so that's got to be a good offering. Kind of wrap your arms around them. Here's the product, but here's
a piece of gear to help you. Yeah.
Andrew, you've been in sales. Sorry, did you have something else?
I was just going to say, one of those things this also does is it gives maybe some of the bigger install companies a chance to basically try this stuff out. So you rent it, for 1 or 2 jobs. The next thing you do, listen, man, I can spend this much in rentals, or I can just buy it. And so we've seen that a lot of companies just going, listen, we're doing enough big jobs now that we'll buy that equipment.
Also too, but with yes, maybe it makes more sense to buy it as opposed to rent it long term if it's a larger project. But if you get into some commercial projects too, like renting this gear, incorporating that variable into your labor costs too, I mean, that's a big deal for some of them. I assume.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
And the other thing too, the way the trends have gone, it's large format. Right?
Yep.
That's the way it is going now.
Right,
So,
and because it's large format, that's a bigger deal. That's the case on many jobs.
yeah, absolutely. So the days of having a paver the size of your hand, those are, I would say, they're behind us right now. And most of the people that even having large equipment like an excavator, that there's an attachment that you can put a vacuum on your attachment and vacuum attachment on, and so you can do more gear, and you're saving backs, you're laying down more square footage quicker, and
guys like playing with that gear too. They love those new toys. So
saves your back of
Boys
20
love their
years.
toys.
Yeah. No, that's great. Maybe for our listeners, hoping, and obviously a lot of contractors listening in, architects and different kind of points of entry for Stone Depot and Permacon. But maybe for someone who's driving by, maybe listening audio to this podcast right now, and they're looking over at a nice brand new house or a commercial building, just kind of explain the products that we're talking about here is like masonry for cladding. There's masonry products that you see on the building, whether it's brick or veneer stone, and then you got your pavers. We could say retaining walls. What else? I mean, there's ledges.
So I mean, there's steps. There's
steps.
Curbing. That's another thing. Curbing, edging, that sort of thing there. Even, I mean, as far as what we're seeing, a lot of people is with landscaping, people are basically bringing their indoor living outdoors. So to match their hardscapes and their softscapes, they're also adding in things like fire features. So this would be your propane burners, that sort of thing there, not just your wood burning, because let's face it, now summers are getting drier. And so it's the middle of July and you're going, listen, I can't burn, here I have this fire pit and I can't burn unless you have a propane burner or a natural stone burner. So doing nice fire setups and landscape lighting. It's one of those things that, I mean, what I tell guys all the time is, listen, your people are spending all this money on their landscaping, and I mean, if they're getting something installed in the
nobody can see it from 7 p.m. in the summer till
exactly. So so you just had your patio put in, end of August or early September, and it's like, well, you can't fully enjoy it. Well, that landscape lighting gives you an opportunity to enjoy your outdoor spaces that much more, and give you those longer times out in your backyard oasis.
And when it comes to fireplaces, like are you supplying just certain products that are stone in nature that have like different variables that make it as close to heat or whatever, that you can use these stone to build your fireplaces, or do you go further than that? Is there actual kind of fire units that you can buy from the Stone Depot? Or
so it's one of those things where you can buy the stone. So Permacon offers a variety of fire pits, some that are pre kits, other things where it's like you can use this product to build your fire feature. And then we do carry we carry a line of burners, not stock, keep on hand necessarily, but it's one of those things where we access those when needed. And it's something that you can do the whole the whole 9 yards. So we kind of make that easy for you. We try to be as much of a one-stop shop as possible in that regard. So so it's one of those things that you pick out your fire pit, and again, for some people, they want that. My wife, it's one of those things where she wants that traditional wood burning, and if there's times where she can't use it, fair enough, she'll wait. But there's other people who listen, it's the middle of August when we haven't had rain in 2 weeks, we want to still have that garden party with our fire feature there. So they will go ahead and install, pay that extra, pay that money for that propane burner or that natural gas burner.
What are some of the when it comes to contractors and they're deciding, or if it's residential, like, and they're using different products other than aesthetics, because that's obviously a big one. Is it eco-friendly? Is it different products that have different installation methods? As far as, like, I don't have a lot of knowledge personally around landscaping and masonry and stuff, but like, what are some of the things that a quality contractor might look for when he's looking for some of these products, as opposed to whatever the client's preferences aesthetic wise, as far as the product specifics themselves? Like,
well, I guess what I would comment on first is it really depends on the scale of the backyard they're working on. A lot of homeowners now, and the budget for sure. But a lot of them are actually having a design done, either from a landscape designer or landscape architect. Yeah, gives you the end vision, right? So they have something that they know they're going to work towards, and then from there it's spec'd in either spec'd or drawn in. Whatever product it is that they want to use. So but there are some landscape contractors that would be doing the designs themselves, and probably designing with products that you've used in the past and have experiences from the past.
As far as installation goes, so just they have a comfortability of how that gets installed, and it went well last time, let's use that again, kind of thing. I feel like too, well, not necessarily speaking to the masonry side, but like for landscaping, I don't know if this is just kind of subjective or from what I see, but I know Dalhousie has a new program, or working on a new program. There's new programs coming out all the time where it's landscape architecture specifically, and I feel like a lot of the designs and the buildings that are being built, whether they're residential or multi-res or commercial or institutional, like, there's a lot more thought maybe being put into the landscape element, and I mean that's got to be good for business, I'm assuming. You guys notice that, or do you?
I mean, not just through sales, but you're right, you see it. There's definitely more thought into those outdoor spaces, probably just to make everybody happier instead of just being stuck in a building all the time. They know they've got their outdoor patios, and
they want people out there spending time out there.
Absolutely.
The other thing I was going to mention too is social media. People seeing things on Pinterest and Facebook and all those, and saying, it's the ideas are just out there. So. And I guess hence 700 product lines, right? Exactly.
That's great to see. I mean, because we could all spend more time outside.
The other thing I was going to mention too, Andrew, is what Andrew touched on was outdoor fireplace, but even outdoor kitchens. Someone is really trying to create an outdoor room where they're trying to have a fireplace area, lighting for sure, but even having outdoor kitchens, barbecue areas, outdoor sitting areas, that dining room tables and everything. So it's almost creating another. It's an outdoor room to go and enjoy, extension of their houses.
So if someone was creating an outdoor kitchen and they were thinking about things like countertops, like maybe quartz or some different products, like those are lines that you guys would carry too, or like this, I guess certain types of materials may be more suitable for outside and moisture and things like that. But
we carry oversized slabs, kind of what we call barbecue slabs, and we'll do, because we can custom cut them, rock them. But you're talking some heavy stuff, some 2-inch slabs,
and natural stone.
In natural stone.
Right. So you're cutting that in the warehouse at the Stone Depot location here. What's that? Just a big wet saw.
Yep. A handheld one, actually.
Really?
We do it kind of old school. Mark it out and bend over and go with the saw and rock things by hand, and
works.
It gets the job done.
Don't have to fix it. Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm just trying to envision it now. Like, I think that's one of those things that everybody kind of has a dream of having, that backyard, and you're having people over and different events and stuff.
And add to that as well, there's more and more pools that are being installed every year.
Right. So probably like 80% of the time you see a pool installed, I mean, there's going to be pavers, maybe a retaining wall. You got to have a deck out there. Right. So that's a big selling feature too. So as far as, a lot of the focus has been in the past, you worked at Shaw for a while, right? I mean, you've been doing this whole contractor thing for a long time.
I've been around, so it's one of those things that
give us some dirt. What are some stories?
I'm keeping it all above board here. My tell-all
I'm half joking. I just wanted to see what you'd say.
I was going to say my tell-all memoir is coming out when I retire. So there you get the dirt. So
no, but you've been doing this for a long time. Dealing with contractors, like Kyle said earlier, it's not always easy. Like everybody has jobs, they got schedules, they got budgets they got to keep, and you're dealing with a lot of them at the same time. I mean, it's a tough thing to manage, and some days just need to get outside for a breather.
Yeah, funny. There's some days where I look and I'm going like, man, I got to channel my inner Phil Jackson.
Hence
work
the white
with all
hairs
those
on the
egos,
beard there.
You know what I mean? So it's funny because listen, work with a number of contractors over the years, and I think I've developed a really good relationship with them over the years, from home builders to landscape architects to landscapers. And it's one of those things where you just got to realize everybody's a little bit different. When kind of we get on the same page, it really works out. And so you need, like I said, I kind of half say it jokingly, but Phil Jackson's one of the guys that I look at, that the LA Lakers back in the day weren't any, basically he was the one who managed to make Shaq and Kobe work together to win championships.
That's a good analogy.
And so that's kind of how I try to work, is try to, work with these guys. We try to work together so that they're successful, so the Stone Depot's successful, so Permacon's successful, along with our other suppliers that I kind of mentioned here. And anyway, it's just, it's, there's definitely days where you're pulling out your hair, and my beard's got a little grayer throughout the pandemic, but it's one of those things that at the end of the day, I remember there was a point where I was kind of, thinking, had hit a low point where I was kind of looking and going, listen, do I really want to do this anymore? And all of a sudden I was kind of in Tim Hortons, and I just saw the contractors rolling in, and I'm like, listen, I love working with these guys. I think it's funny, to give you, I guess, a bit of my background. My family's all blue collar, or my seems like the men in my family are all blue collar, I should say, except me. And so I think of this analysis that Mike Rowe has from Micro Works. You guys, you know Mike Rowe? I'm
not sure if I do.
Okay, he's a guy, dirty jobs, one of those things, a real advocate for the trades. But I remember he tells a story.
I've seen that, dirty jobs.
Yeah. So he tells the story of how his grandfather and father were real good tradesmen, and he wasn't so great. And his grandfather, after he'd kind of tried doing something, just kind of sighs and says, listen, son, you're going to be a tradesman. You just need a different toolbox. And so it's one of those things where, although I'm not super handy like Kyle is, or don't come from that side of things, I just always appreciated blue collar guys because my two grandfathers and my father, that's the sort of thing they were trades guys.
No, it's funny that you gravitated to that role, and I mean, you got to deal with those the contractors, architects on one side, logistics, timing, scheduling, just a lot of different things to juggle there. So there's a lot more to it, like Kyle was saying earlier, than probably most people would appreciate until they're close by, close range, or in your shoes. Yeah,
absolutely. That's the thing. I appreciate Kyle mentioning that, because I'm sure there's guys are looking and going like, why is Andrew not working on this for me? But again, it's you got all these different guys. You got, it's one of those things, even just kind of internally, it's one of those things you're trying to make sure orders are picked. You're trying to make sure that guys know, what's going out next on the truck, that sort of thing there. So there's certainly, it's a lot to juggle, but at the end of the day, it's, I think no matter what I do, I end up getting, gravitating back to this is, this has been a great, it's 15 years in the industry for me, and it's been a great 15 years.
You've earned those gray hairs, man.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So as far as we talk about, the history of the Stone Depot, mainly focused on residential. Is that correct? In the past.
Quick shout out to the newest sponsor of the show, the Stone Depot. The Stone Depot is located in Bears Lake, Halifax, but serves all of the East Coast. The showroom over 8,000 square feet, perfect for masonry contractors, landscaping contractors, builders, developers. Regardless, the Stone Depot is a great option for you, whether you're doing fire pits, patio stones, kitchen and interior stones. So if you're looking for a great stone supplier, visit the Stone Depot. This episode is brought to you by Airtight Spaces. Airtight Spaces is Atlantic Canada's first authorized aero barrier dealer. They help create comfortable, healthy, and durable living environments with the added benefit of energy efficiency. Air sealing is a critical step towards net zero buildings. Using air pressure to automatically guide sealing guarantees the highest quality results in the least amount of time with the least amount of effort. If air sealing is important to you, you can visit Airtight Spaces at www.airtightspaces.com. Pivot Bookkeeping is your one-stop shop and customizable bookkeeping, tax, and filing service. With Pivot, you have the peace of mind knowing your taxes are always filed on time and your bookkeeping is reconciled often. Using their non-proprietary software and applications, all of your business finances are securely handled by their local account managers. Pivot takes great pride in providing you with unlimited support and a direct line to your account managers right here in Nova Scotia. Whether you're an established business looking for new options and increase efficiency, or a newer company looking to build a solid foundation for future growth, Pivot has a product that can be modified to your needs. Consider making the pivot today. Book a free consultation at pivotbookkeeping.com.
Yeah, that's been our biggest area that we've been selling to is residential.
Right.
Some builders,
Yeah.
but that is kind of an area where we hope to change in the future and get more into that commercial world.
Right.
Which we got a good start last year with a couple nice projects.
Is that one in Fredericton you were saying?
Yeah, the city of Fredericton was one of them.
Yep.
And then Richmond Yard, which was
Which is ongoing. Yeah.
correct, and that was a big one. We worked hand in hand with Permacon on that project.
Right.
I was pretty pumped to nail that one down with
what's
Kevin.
what's the products that are being used in Richmond Yards, if we can mention, like pavers or?
Yeah, it's a ton of pavers. It's the Boulevard.
Okay, I've seen the Boulevard line
more
on
than
your
a ton.
your dash.
Yeah.
About 100,000 tons.
What is it? 87,000 square feet.
Yeah, I think it's 87,000.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, that was pretty exciting for me because that is something that when I purchased Stone Depot, I knew the commercial side was definitely lower than the residential, and I wanted to push that direction. And when I saw that project come across, I got pretty excited.
Wow. So maybe tell us a little bit about that project specifically. I know you mentioned the one in the town of Fredericton. A lot of people will know Richmond Yards who are tuning in, especially from the HRM area.
Yeah,
Lots of eyeballs on that one.
Oh yeah, it's hard to miss it actually. It's quite a unique project. I mean, there's several things that are going on there. That's Westwood Development are the owners of the project. There's
Birds of CM, right?
Yes, that's correct. And there's a couple of towers on site. There's some townhouses, and there's a couple of roadways that are going through. So it's the pavers, the Boulevard paver line is what's featured there. There's a few different colors, some textures as well. So it's really creating a really quite a neat look to it. Yeah. And there's also on the main level, there's a few different products from Permacon. Our tech system is one, which is a planter system.
Okay.
And then also our Melville retaining wall system. So it's it's going to be a pretty unique project. Yeah.
So they'd have planters, maybe every 20, 40 feet kind of throughout the different.
Yeah. So it's quite a, I mean, if you look at it, it's a glass building with some masonry in the building as well.
You're talking about the tower building.
Yeah,
right?
the towers, yes.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty hard surface area. So you got to do something, you got to soften it somehow. So by putting planters with, soft scape in there as well, it's going to soften it quite a bit. So it's going to be a pretty spectacular project.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Congrats on that. So maybe just for context on the process when it comes to Kevin, you as the manufacturer of Permacon and these products, and Kyle, you at the Stone Depot as the owner. What's your inroad there? I mean, you're not asking for too many details, but are you kind of working a little bit with the architects early on? Are you just talking to the developer, or is it just the contractor that's buying your products and installing them?
I had a lot of the same questions when I first bought Stone Depot.
Yeah, how's it going to look?
Yeah, how do we get our fingers in and find out what's going on?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is starting out as an architect. Well, first of all, the building owner, is coming to the architect and saying, "This is what we're working on. Put it in plans." So Volek McKee were the landscape architect on this project. So they would have talked to Westwood, got the ball rolling there, put some designs together, and then turning into, okay, what products can be using, what design can be used. So it's really, that's the process. Once that's done, then it's put out to tender. Yeah. Looking for pricing on it, and then going from there. And then there's a point where, they look at the product and say, okay, it's great, but it's over budget. What can we do to reduce budget? Cut here, cut there. So
and for our listeners, I mean, anyone in the industry would know, but that can be pretty long and drawn out just to get yourself into a job like that. You're talking a couple of years sometimes. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. What about the Fredericton one? Can we speak on that at all, or was that last year? Or?
That was last year. They had an extension on a project, so we just worked with the city of Fredericton to help provide those pavers there. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things. I think we haven't had a chance to go up there and get a lot of pictures or anything like that. But yeah, it was just really an opportunity for us to kind of work there. It was an opportunity we jumped on, so that was again, I think that was a learning curve for us. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we it's got us made us look bigger in the game. that people are kind of realizing now that, listen, the Stone Depot isn't just about residential projects, not just about, we love working with the smaller to medium sized contractors, but we're certainly there to serve the bigger contractors as well, and and to serve their needs with those bigger projects.
Yeah, and I guess as far as the risk goes, I mean, bigger volume, bigger risk, but also like a lot of the same products can be kind of interchanged, I'm assuming, on residential and commercial. Maybe
some of the pavers though, when you're dealing with commercial, they're usually you're talking
a lot thicker.
100 mil
Yeah.
for heavy traffic,
Right.
which not no residential would look at, but
Yeah.
there are, like what Kevin was saying with the Artex panels and the wall systems and stuff. Yeah, they're interchangeable between commercial and
Right.
residential.
And as far as your operations, like if there's contractors listening in from New Brunswick, you've got that one job in commercial in Fredericton, no problem serving as far as your operations and logistics. If there's contractors that want to get another price on things,
absolutely.
like reach out and
It never hurts to get another price.
yeah,
That's
for sure.
kind of my motto, and
Yeah.
we definitely look at them aggressively. So we're open.
Yeah, and for some of these jobs, like you mentioned, Richmond Yards, like high volume, you guys kind of figure that out between your manufacturer and yourself. Like you only have so much room at your yard, and you got to keep it at my yard until this happens, and kind of. So I mean that's just something you have to go through when you're dealing with high volumes, but not.
A lot of the time, I mean, some of those bigger projects, you are just taking it direct from manufacturer to site. There's no, I don't have to bring it to my yard.
Right. When it comes to your products, like I'm thinking of, different types of materials, whether it's, high-end cladding or if it's sheeting and stuff. Like a lot of times guys don't want stuff on site too early, but if it's a product that you're carrying, it's not detrimental to the product itself if it's sitting there or in your yard.
And that is one of the nice things about a concrete product, a paver. It can sit on a pallet, it's wrapped, so it's protected, and it can sit there for quite a while before it gets installed.
Yeah, it's not like it's going to bow or something.
Correct.
The other challenge is, for instance, we talk about Richmond Yard. It's such a small space and a busy. The Halifax city is very busy.
Yeah,
and so there's only so much space.
There's only so much room. It's not like we got lots of room. Here you go.
And there's many trades going on, so they're all competing for the same little work area. So it's Richmond Yard's been a challenge.
Logistically, it's definitely tougher.
For sure, it would be. Yeah. So as far as that project, do you have all the product distributed to site for the installation, or half? Or you're kind of working still ongoing, right?
It's definitely ongoing.
But yeah.
They've got a chunk, but I know they're laying it down. But they're still good.
And that's where you come in too, Kevin, where you're thinking, okay, how many more months for this much, and how many, and where's it? They got to get it from Quebec and here, and there's a lot that goes into that, right? Sure. The contract doesn't want to be waiting. As soon as he's ready, it's like we want it next week.
Yeah. Well, I know that we're not. It's material that it would be made already for the project, so we're sitting on it. Kyle and I are just both waiting for the green light to say, okay, send another truck in or a couple trucks in. So yeah.
So as far as the split on sales between landscaping and say masonry, a lot of the conversation's been around landscaping, but masonry contractors too are a big big thing for you guys,
and I've seen that grow quite a bit since I purchased the Stone Depot.
Right.
We that was another avenue that we definitely knew we could grow. And Andrew's done a heck of a job pushing that, working with these contractors with some new products and whatnot to grow that area of the business.
Yeah, can you speak on that a little bit, Andrew? I mean, I guess that would help coming from your background with Shaw, which is anyone wants clay brick. That's where they're going. And
for sure.
Lots of different products that they're using now, though.
Yeah, I think for us, it's just building. What I found with the builders that we work with, they want someone who's reliable. They want someone who's kind of available to them. They want some. They want to kind of know when something's going to be in, it's going to be in. They want to know if something's going to be on site, that it's on site. And so for me, it's been great. Kind of I'd say the first part of my career was more on the landscaping side as far as sales go. So it's been good kind of since I've transitioned, since I came to the Stone Depot, over 7 years ago to build those relationships with the builders. So it's just great to work with those guys. As far as kind of our mix goes, I mean, I'm just anecdotally, I'm going to say, it's kind of like 33% masonry, 67% landscape. But yes, we've certainly brought on some new builders, throughout this time. We are seeing some of those bigger houses. And, before it was one of those things where all people in Nova Scotia, I mean, it was almost hard for me. I took actually a trip to Permacon about 10 years ago, and you see that the guys from Quebec couldn't understand why like why we were only getting brick or stone on the first front part of the house. They
Right.
kind of see that, you know, their houses are like 4-sided or 3-sided.
Right, and
stone.
only up a certain elevation or full wall. Like,
I mean, like
yeah.
I'd say usually it was almost. I seem to remember like seeing houses in one of the swankier neighborhoods of Quebec City where it was like almost like they had siding on the bottom and then the rest was all stone. Whereas here
Okay.
it's usually
It's the opposite,
Yeah. And it's usually kind of just a little bit on the front, and you have little jogs on the side so that it gives that look. But we are seeing a lot more bigger jobs with stone as we see people move from west to east. They're bringing those purchasing trends. They want those houses that don't just look like, well, we threw some stone on it because, you know, just to make it look a little, little posh. We want something that's going to be, you know, we saw this house that we dreamed of when we lived in Toronto or when we lived in Montreal. Well, we moved down to the Maritimes. We want to bring that down here. So
thinking of some of the houses here in the peninsula or down by Point Pleasant Park and stuff, and there's some nice masonry on some of those.
absolutely, yes, yeah. It's one of those things. I mean, the hard thing I find is that you know, masons are starting to become a harder and harder to find. So it's one of those things that, I mean, I think there was a point where it came up at a recent conference. Actually, I think it was the Permacon Elevate seminar, where someone had said to me they heard the average mason was like basically in their 50s in Nova Scotia. So that's been a hard thing. But there are other products out there. There's alternative masonry, whether that's a mortared on veneer, mechanically fastened products, that sort of thing there. So anyway, so there's lots of new innovations on that masonry side of things.
And even with those new innovations, like it's still, I mean, you could say any building envelope or cladding company could install them, but it's still a lot of them, it takes a masonry company to install those as well. Even though you're saying it's veneer, it's still a brick product. It's still
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of those things that we found. I mean, I think veneer kind of came out, so it's like, listen, I don't have to do a brick check, and I'm sure people looked and said, I don't need a mason. And it's like, we've certainly seen plenty of jobs look awful because you simply thought that your tile guy or the guy who, the young fellow who was putting up your siding, that he could do the job. And the number of times where we have people calling us, listen, do you have a proper mason that can kind of come in and take a job, or take this on and fix this up? It's pretty, we really do try to push. We love giving business to masons. We love the relationships we have with masons. And so it's one of those things we do try to push people when they're going, is there ways that I can kind of, cut corners on this? And in my opinion, it's like, listen, get a mason, get the right mason. Because you might look at that a little bit of money you're saving, but it could end up being one of the worst investments you made, simply because you didn't make that initial investment.
And that goes for most trades.
Yes. Yep.
So when it comes to, I mean, you say the Stone Depot, we're kind of making that transition over the last couple of years into more commercial sales. Obviously, that doesn't just go for landscaping, but for masonry as well, right? And there's some big players in the commercial masonry field, but I think too, like a big thing we talk about on the show here a lot is the labor shortage, and it's a busy market right now. I mean, it's busy, especially when you're talking about Nova Scotia, but New Brunswick, PEI too, and there is only so many masons, right? And if those guys are busy and they got work planned out for a year or two, there's jobs going on. I remember, just some different things. They have a pulse on down on near Point Pleasant Park, like Atlantic School of Theology, and some different projects that are being refurbished for the exterior. And they're thinking, we want to do this before the end of the year for whatever budget reasons, and I don't think they're going to get a mason to be able to do this, right? And that's a big issue, right?
That's the problem. Nobody really wants to wait, and you're usually waiting for the good ones.
Yeah, no, exactly, because they're going to be busy.
That's right.
Just to comment on the masonry trade, it's not only masonry, it's all trades that's experiencing that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Demand,
No,
so.
you're right. Yeah, it's every guest that kind of comes through here, whether it's on the consultant side, architects and engineers, or the sub trades or the GCs, like everyone's
same problem.
and the suppliers too.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they need experienced and salespeople and talented people in the warehouses and everything.
Yeah.
It's all around.
Yeah.
I usually say in this industry, you need to in order to sell it, you need, kind of 1 to 2 years, I'd say, to kind of even get, probably I'd say like a 75% knowledge of the product. It's certainly, man, my first couple of years there was plenty of lumps and plenty of times where I was like, whoa, holy smokes, I didn't think of this or this or this. But yeah, it takes 1 or 2 years. And I think right now that can be a tough thing, is kind of, telling people that, listen, the first little bit will be a bit of baptism by fire and can be difficult, but listen, at the end of the day, you stick it out, it's going to be a good choice for you, a good career choice. Constructions, I mean, there's always construction going on, right? So it's one of those things that it's just kind of getting that message to people and making sure a generation of people know the opportunity in this industry. Because I know, I mean, when I went to SMU, I was thinking white, marketing degree, white collar job, had that cocky college boy attitude.
Oh, I can just imagine.
Yes. And all of a sudden,
Didn't have the beard then.
No, I didn't. No, baby face and a little less weight. So anyway, but it's one of those things where I kind of came out, you kind of think the world's going to be handed to you, and all of a sudden it was a reality check for me. And then the opportunity came to come into this industry. So anyway, and like I said, for me, it's 15 years. And I'm sure there's there are a lot of longstanding people. I'm sure they would say, yeah, it's absolutely worth it. And it's something that, to me, whether it's tradespeople or people on the sales side or that sort of side, it's a good opportunity to come into construction and into landscaping and masonry.
Yeah, no, it's a great living. I think it reminds me of we had Durham Masonry on the show. I want to say it was the early part of last year, and it wasn't. It was Jeff, but it was Daryl and then Andrew Smith from the Masonry Institute. And I just remember, having a really good conversation with them. What you said too is true, Andrew, about a lot of these guys are getting older, but that's not just true in masonry, like you alluded to, Kevin. It's true in all the trades, and that's a big part of the labor shortage problem. Where in the next 6 or 7 years, there's a stat. Some of these guys are going to be retiring. And there's maybe not enough coming in the other end as far as apprentices. And when it comes to these trades, again, when it's masonry, we're talking about, maybe you're not, people not realizing the experience level, working with these different products. It's an art form, right? But that goes for most trades too, right? And it's about having that respect level for all these different trades that, a lot of these guys are in an art form that they've crafted it over 10, 20 years. And is that knowledge being handed down, because some of the stuff that you guys supply, Permacon and the Stone Depot and the different lines, and you mentioned the social media and that, some beautiful stuff.
Absolutely,
it's very captivating, some of the different designs and the different stone. And it's almost I'm kind of as a hobby into woodworking, but you're working with a product that comes, from the forest. It's organic, and there's so much different texture and wood grains. The same thing I find with stone. It's there's a lot of character to it and stuff. And where I'm going with this is where am I going with this?
Is this where we edit?
No, we're gonna leave that in. That's great.
Exactly. There you go.
That's great material.
Yeah, exactly.
People laughing at me. That's what it's all about. No, but where I'm going with it is, it's a trade that it takes a long time, and the fact that there's not enough people coming in the other end's a big problem, right? That even contractors are probably worried about that, because it doesn't matter how much technology or machines work into the situation, you're still going to need good masons. You're going to need them 10 years from now. You're going to need them 30 years from now. That's not going to change. Doesn't matter how many other things change. You're going to have equipment that helps you lift things and that, but still got to need masons.
You still need that human touch.
It's not a dying trade. It's just maybe not enough people being attracted to it or something. I don't know where
I think it has to be presented in a different way. Maybe that's one of those things I'm thinking of. I know that the big thing now, everyone wants to be an influencer, social media influencer. It's hard. Even my son, he wants to be a YouTuber, which is maybe a little more old school guy. I'm just like, come on, Max, that's not, there's got to be more, you got to think outside the box. But, we talk about social media, social media. I mean, whether it's, this podcast, whether it's your Instagram, that sort of thing there, you can certainly, you can be an influencer in this sort of industry. I was watching a video yesterday where a guy was basically testing out different polymeric sands. Now, listen, that is me, the landscaping nerd in me kind of watching that, but it's one of those,
exciting.
but it's one of those things that the guy did a real good job. He was based out of Pennsylvania, did a good job just presenting this, and people appreciate that. That gives you a chance to,
but lots of people would geek out on that.
Oh,
Love
absolutely.
That stuff.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
I mean that in a positive way.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, it's it's one of those things. So I think there's, listen, when you think about being an influencer, it's not just all it's just not all taking selfies and that sort of thing there.
Yeah.
There is that opportunity to, with construction to influence that industry, to kind of show, what can come out there. And companies like Permacon, who are manufacturers, are doing that on their social media feeds. There's, other contractors that I see, whether it's local landscapers or landscapers, all over North America, they're doing that. They're showing, what they can design.
Yeah, a local one I think of is Trim Landscape. They do a good job of marketing and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please continue.
Yeah. There's a few of the designs I've seen, kind of designers that I follow from the States. It's just amazing to see what they do with their product, or with products, and with various products. Like, it's inspirational. It's something that you can kind of,
it is.
And I think it's one of those things, even when I started in the industry, it's one of those things where people were dismissive of, that might work in Toronto, or that might work in Boston or New York, but it doesn't work up here. And now you have people going, listen, we can do that. Like, those products are available to us up here. And so that's something that I think is, again, an opportunity that people can see. Like, listen, you want to be an influencer? That's great. It's not just fashion and clothes and that sort of thing there. Like, there is chance to be an influencer in this industry.
That's a really good
so
point.
yeah, work on your trade, and then use that to be that influencer in the market.
Yeah. You guys have anything to add to that? Because I think, like, the way that, well, Kevin, you mentioned, Permacon and the marketing department. I'm sure that's a whole kind of engine in itself, and we can talk about that. But even you, Kyle, like, coming into the Stone Depot and the rebranding and working on some different things, and even your purpose of being here today, and one of the reasons why we're trying to do the show is along the same lines. But you are kind of trying to take what Stone Depot was and put a new image on it, a new feel, that might be more attractive or more contemporary or something.
Correct. Try to bring it kind of up to speed. I felt that Stone Depot was a little bit almost dated, and we were coined just for natural stone, which I love.
Right.
But current trends and the times call for a lot of precast, whether it's masonry or landscape, and that's what we tried to do, was just bring it up to speed with what's going on today. But Andrew's 100% correct, where we do need to try to push that the trades more, whether you're doing an influencer style of thing, but for a trade, it does have to be marketed and pushed a little differently, so that not everybody thinks it's just grunt labor, which is why I feel a lot of the young people are staying away from some of these jobs, because they do look difficult, and they can be difficult, but when you know how to do it properly, it's really not that bad. It just needs to be promoted differently.
The big thing, I think, is that landscaping has changed a lot over the years. It used to be one of those things where you think of, I used to kind of joke around, I think it was, I heard a stat at one point that it was like a large percentage of like convicts who would come out of jail would go into landscaping. And so there was this view of, I'd almost joke around going, listen, 2 convicts and a ranger landscaping with a few rakes and a couple hockey sticks and that sort of thing there. But it's one of those things that it's changed a lot. Like, it's one of those things that, guys have to change the way they present themselves. And there's a lot of guys out there doing that. I was at the Permacon Elevate seminar. I was very impressed with the number of young people who were there who looked like they were, like clean cuts, professional. One of those things where they would fit in a white collar environment as well as a blue collar environment, and just that was encouraging to me. So there are people out there who see the need. So it's just a matter of just kind of, again, making sure that we're doing our best in the industry to kind of bring people along to help them in that.
Do you want to add anything to that, Kevin? You've been around for a while. Is there anything kind of flowing around your mind as we're talking about this? Or you're like me, and there's really nothing going on back there at all.
Just to comment on what Andrew said too, follow up with that. So Permacon tries to put, other than with the pandemic, each year we try to put on an event that talks about our new products, so that we have an audience, like a landscape contractor audience, that we can go to present it, so they can touch and feel, see how the installation goes, educate them on the products. So we've done that. This year we held it in Dartmouth and in Moncton, and had contractors come out and launch our new product, show them what's coming. So it's to have them come to that event is very important to show that, okay, they know that Permacon's creating products probably a trend that's coming up. It's allowing them to be aware and on cutting edge and knowing what they're going to be
ground floor.
probably exposed to and want to be installed in a homeowner's landscape. So yeah, I don't know if I added that.
No, you
proper.
did. Yeah, no. It's got to be proactive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's interesting little conversation at the last 10 minutes, because it makes me think of different people that we've had on the show. People that work on the sites, subcontractors, GCs, bigger ones like Lindsay's. I remember Corey Bell and Devin, and they were talking about, just the feel of maybe you come from a family where, maybe it's kind of expected that you go to university and you get a white collar, you get a certain degree, whether it's in law or business or this or that, just kind of way it kind of always was maybe, or you're thinking about it as a kid, but, how much are Red Seal carpenters making? How much are unionized masons making?
Yeah.
How much are non-union? I mean, these guys are making some good
They're
money.
doing well.
I mean, it's hard work. Don't get me wrong, but they earn it. Most of them. But man, it's these are good paying jobs we're talking about. And if it's somebody who is, in that key part of their development, maybe age 12 to 17, and I do okay in school, and I like school, but I just love being outside. I love working with my hands. I love building stuff, and just, do they have a pressure on them that's keeping them away from that? Some of them, probably in the culture, in their thinking, and maybe having these kind of conversations is
that's where
a small way to help.
I don't know if you've heard of Skills Canada.
Yeah,
Like that's where they're trying to teach younger kids about all the trades and get in there at an early stage, so that the kids are informed on what kind of trades are available for them.
Yes. Yeah, similar to what you just brought up, right? I mean, it's the same kind of ideas, like get them exposed to
Correct,
it.
yeah.
That's the Nova Scotia Construction Sector Council does that, and there's lots of people have that initiative. I'm assuming, so I guess we're onto something.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
So anything else, gentlemen, that we didn't touch on? I wanted to mention, I was looking through some of the Permacon product lines and stuff, and rooftop terraces seem to me, maybe, I don't know if there certainly nothing new in large cities, and but you look around Halifax, see a lot of new buildings. They're having the top out parties, and there's just some real nice stuff going on that top floor, whether there's a pool involved too, but the stone and pavers and like you guys mentioned, the whole outdoor room on some of those upper rooftop terraces.
I think the days of the rooftops used to be utilitarian purposes, and they're not that anymore, right? They're making usable space.
Yeah.
And so by making usable space, they want to, using pedestals, putting pavers on it, putting slabs on it, creating, again, extension of the inside to the outside. And so, that's a big thing. Like all the large multi-units that are going up right now, there's patio areas, there's all those things that they want to landscape, and using slabs, using pavers, using, planters and outdoor kitchens and things like that on all those levels. So, that's a big part of the businesses now, big part of the construction now, I should say. So.
Anything we didn't touch on, gentlemen, that we should? I know, kind of a big thing is, and I feel like it's good for the industry, and that another company of this nature is kind of moving towards the commercial space. I think there's so many projects, right? It's so busy. There's probably plenty of room for supply of masonry and landscaping products on commercial sites. Just on the pulse we have in Nova Scotia, I can't speak necessarily to other provinces and stuff, but it's got to be a good thing for people listening in that are developers, architects, building asset owners, maybe doing retrofits, any contractors that are on the commercial side. Hey, there's another company here to reach out to for pricing, and got a good track record, and are already supplying some of maybe the biggest project in the city right now, some stuff on that. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Dan, that there's plenty of opportunity out there right now. Like it's not just about getting your piece of the pie. It's also like growing the pie, and that pie is growing. And so when the pie grows, listen, you got to have you got to have, all the traditional guys can't necessarily always keep up with that demand. So that's certainly where we're at. And we're pushing full steam ahead, moving forward, and trying to grow that commercial side of the business. And we have, again, you mentioned the city of Fredericton, we have that job, but we've certainly worked with landscapers and contractors in your home province, your former home province,
Absolutely.
BEI, and Newfoundland as well. So, you know, it's one of those things. Do we do a ton of work in the other provinces? Not necessarily. We're one location in Halifax, but we certainly can serve those areas, and we've done it in the past successfully. And I think most of the contractors who have dealt with us would find that
Well, you're bringing a lot of your stuff from Quebec, from Permacon anyway. What's the difference if you got to take it over to Newfoundland at the same time? Right?
Yeah,
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so yeah, as the market grows here in Atlantic Canada, we're certainly, you know, we're a big player in that, and we're certainly here to serve you know, Halifax, serve the, you know, the different parts of the province, whether that's northern Nova Scotia, southern Nova Scotia, Cape Breton. But we'll you know, we're here to you know, well, we've made our mark for what are we looking at? Yeah, almost 30 years now, and we're going to continue to do that. So we're it's good things for the Stone Depot.
Awesome. I know you won't know much about this, Andrew, but what do you guys think of the Mooseheads in the finals? Kyle, Kevin,
Andrew.
Yeah.
you saying your prayers this weekend, Andrew, with the boys?
Yeah, listen, I mean, those guys there.
For anyone listening in, Andrew Pepper here is the chaplain of the Mooseheads, and they're in for the finals here coming up. So it's exciting times. They did well this year. I mean, this is great.
Absolutely. I kind of, you know, it's one of those things that's, you know, with the boys, I'm very proud of them. One of those things I've really think this year, kind of compared to other years, the 2013 team was before my time, but certainly I've seen a lot of great teams kind of roll through that Halifax team. But I think the leadership, the coaching with the team, those guys are solid. They bring out the best in the guys. I mean, them being down 0-2 to Phoenix, and like everyone writing them off, and I credit Sly and Brad McKenzie and Liam and Joey, all for kind of, you know, and you know, all the staff are kind of getting them hyped.
Were we down games in the last round too?
It was just so Sherbrooke was the last round.
Yeah.
So basically, it's one of those things. Game one, we were, you know, it's one of those things that they out doubled us in shots, and then game two we lost in a heartbreaker. And anyway, they go into Sherbrooke, win 2 there, and then just 4 straight back. You know,
what's the key to take the Quebec Emperors in the long run?
Get under Patrick Roy's skin. That's my whole thing, man.
I love his antics, man. So I've been at a game with him before, and he just loses his.
I have a beef with Patrick from 1993. I was a Nordiques fan growing up. I shouldn't say a personal beef with Patrick, but I was a if you're listening,
don't know him that
Patrick.
well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in 1993, I was a Quebec Nordiques fan. I was in there during a very tough time in Quebec when they were, you know, and so getting chirped by a lot of my friends who were Habs fans. And all of a sudden we come into the first round against them. First time we've been in the playoffs in like, I think 5 years or something like that. And anyway, Nordiques go up 2 games to nothing against the Canadians in the first round, and I'm sitting there going, "Listen, payback's coming, guys!" To all my Habs fans, and then Patty gets hot. You know, Nordiques lose 4 straight. They're gone. 2 years later, the team is gone. Habs going to win the Stanley Cup, and I'm still like bitter about that. So it's one of those things that I will definitely.
Those Quebec Nordiques jerseys, though, those are vintage. Those are nice.
I feel like I owe if Sly and the boys, if they win this, I feel like I owe them a little, like a case of beer each or something like that, for giving me some vindication. 13 or 14-year-old me vindication in victory. So
awesome. Any final thoughts, guys? Covered a lot of ground. It's a great conversation.
Andrew says it all.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys all coming in today. Andrew Pepper and Kyle MacDonald with the Stone Depot, and Kevin McGinnis from Permacon. It's been a pleasure, great conversation, and really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Dan. And I want to say that I definitely appreciate what you're doing here at the Atlantic Construction Podcast. It's cutting edge. It's showing us, you know, that's you know, that Atlantic Canada is a you know, a good place to be for construction, and so I appreciate you kind of the what you've taken, your background and what you've taken and kind of made with this. So yeah, we really appreciate you too. So thanks so much for this opportunity.
Awesome, thanks, Andrew. Cheers, guys. This episode is brought to you by Cook Insurance, your trusted insurance broker in Atlantic Canada for 50 years. Insurance is complex, and the Cook team focuses on delivering comprehensive solutions for your construction needs, including builder's risk, wrap-up liability, performance bonds, and project-specific construction. A Navicord partner since 2020, Cook is one of the largest construction brokers in Canada and offers national strength with a local touch. Whatever your insurance needs are, Cook has you covered.
The team at Atlantic Construction Podcast have been able to build a strong relationship with the folks over at FCA Surety. FCA Surety is heavily engaged in supporting the Atlantic construction marketplace and helping contractors to build their businesses, and we can't recommend them enough. While FCA has their head office in Ontario, many of the members of their team have lived in Atlantic Canada and worked in the construction community here. This gives them a unique national perspective with a local flavor. Andrew Cartwright leads FCA's national surety operations as Vice President of Surety. Their knowledge of the bonding marketplace and understanding of how insurance companies view your business is unparalleled. In addition, the depth of their team and reach across Canada gives them the ability to draw on numerous experiences to help clients navigate items like subtrade, construction disputes, liens, and supplier risk management. These are the things that separate FCA Surety from the pack. Make sure to give the guys a call over at FCA Surety for all of your bonding and surety needs.